What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review, free of spoilers, is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is a 5-star perfect book, and it is the first book in the series of Regency fairy tales, currently with 3 novels and 2 short stories. I'm not sure if it's only going to be a trilogy or there's going to be more books in the Regency fairy tale series, but I kind of wish that there would be more because I adore this book and I can't wait to read the other 2 full-length novels. It's incredibly whimsical, cute, warm, and fuzzy, while also talking about heavy topics like child abuse and child kidnapping. I know that sounds very bizarre, but trust me, it's a great balance. It for sure works. Now, before going deeper into my description and what I enjoyed about this novel, let's read the blurb on the back of this book. It is accurate to the book, and we love to see that. Sometimes it's not, but this blurb on point. Ever since she was cursed by a fairy, Theodora Eddings has had no sense of fear or embarrassment. An unfortunate condition that leaves her prone to accidental scandal. Dora hopes to be a quiet, sensible wallflower during the London season, but when Elias Wilder, the handsome, peculiar, and utterly ill-mannered Lord Sorcier, discovers her condition, she is instead drawn into dangerous fairy affairs. If her reputation can survive both her curse and her sudden connection with the least liked man in all of high society, then she and her family may yet reclaim their normal place in the world. But the longer Dora speaks and spends time with Elias, the more she begins to suspect that one may indeed fall in love with even only half a soul. Yes, so like the blurb said, the main character is Theodora, aka Dora, and it's from her first-person point of view, and she is without half of her soul, so she really doesn't have that many feelings. Just imagine there are some feelings that you can feel, but most of them you can't, and the feelings that you do feel, they're there, but just a little bit. It's not even felt 50% of like a full emotional feeling, and that does of course get her into a lot of trouble, and people don't really like her. And because she's blunt, she just does not have much care to fit in. And quite frankly, you all, I love Dora and all the other characters, and including the love interest Elias in this book. The concept is quite original. I read the blurb and I was like, oh, okay, so we're finally getting something new, as in she is an outsider, which is a usual trope, but the why of being an outsider, love to see it. I love originality. I also love that this is low fantasy. The book is set during the English Regency period, but with fae. Just think of it as magical beings are real and they're walking around in our world. I love and adore that story concept. Reading it and writing it, I am a low fantasy girly, basically. And I think mainly because it's just whimsical. And it's a great concept of, even if you think about it in real life, oh, maybe there are fairies and elves and dwarves or whatever walking around, but you can't tell because they're so sneaky and there's this whole other world. I don't know, I just like that concept. It's a little more engaged with the fairy dimension and the human dimension. They go back and forth quite often, and everyone knows about fae. So it's not a hidden world, but you don't want to mess with it. Now, I do want to note that this is a romance novel, and it's in the setting of Regency historical fantasy. So the beats are romance beats. However, I was going through a really hard time when I picked up this book. I just needed something cute and whimsical and magical. And yes, there are hard topics, but you can talk about hard topics and not make it depressing and revolting and, oh, I'm really uncomfortable, I'm going to put the book down. That's not what Half a Soul is. And I think Olivia does a fantastic job balancing the whimsical and the serious topics. I loved this book so much that I immediately read The Latchkey and The Lord Sorcerer. The Lord Sorcerer is actually in the back of this copy. I'm not sure if it's in other copies, but I was surprised, happily, I might add, that The Lord Sorcerer was in the back of this book, so I didn't have to go searching for it. And so that particular story is set a bit into the past before Half a Soul, and we follow Albert Lowe and Elias Wilder, how they meet and how Elias becomes the Lord Sorcerer, and their time during a particularly brutal war in and around Portugal. They're fighting for the English. So they're English, well, Elias isn't really, but Albert is. And we see a few glimpses of what happened in the past through Dora's eyes when she first interacts with Elias and Albert. And I was intrigued about how they first met, but you don't get a whole bunch because that's not the point of Half a Soul. So The Lord Sorcerer is about how Elias and Albert meet and what they go through during the war, and how Elias becomes the fancy-wancy Lord Sorcerer. And that just means the royals in England dub him the Lord Sorcerer, and he runs the magic in England. That's basically what it means. And that's a 5-star read. Love to see it. Definitely recommend it, of course, because if you get a copy with the short story involved, just go right to it. And now I also read a short story called The Latchkey, and you do have to join Olivia Atwater's newsletter, but it's free, and that's also 5 stars. I thought it was personally worth it. We go into the future just a little bit after the happenings of Half a Soul, and we get the point of view of Elias and his childhood, what he went through, as well as being with Dora and the after effects of everything that happened to the children in Half a Soul, and what the child abuse and kidnappings and just all of that can do to children, which I think is really important. And actually, if you read the author's note of The Latchkey, she talks about how she wanted to portray PTSD basically as best she could, and I think she does a great job. Elias and Dora don't really have trauma of what happened because Elias is, well, I'm not going to spoil, but Dora, little to no emotion, so she doesn't have that issue, but she's trying to help the children deal with what happened to them. And I'm gonna not say anything else on that because then we will go into spoiler zone, and I don't want to do that and lie to you because I'm sure you clicked because there's no spoilers. But did I mention that was 5 stars as well? Okay, look, everything that I have read so far regarding this series, 5 stars. I'm really excited to get to books 2 and 3, and I think that Olivia is a fantastic writer and storyteller. I read this book in 2 days. It was a fantastic read, a great distraction, and it just made me feel good when I needed to feel something good, because I was getting a lot of bad news over and over again, and I was like, can it end? Like, what are we doing here? But this made me feel happy and nostalgic and just overall good. And I think that is amazing craftsmanship. Thank you so much for watching my book review on Half a Soul. I will see you in the next video. Let me know if you've read this book and if you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for watching. Read, write, do whatever you need to do for self-care because it's hard out there right now. Bye.